At my father's lavish retirement gala, he declared, "My sons are my legacy. My daughter lacked the grit for greatness," sparking applause. Until I stood, handed him a sleek black case labeled, "From your greatest oversight," and walked out, leaving him to unravel a truth that shattered his composure. The San Francisco skyline glittered like a promise I'd never been allowed to claim. I stood at the edge of the Fairmont Hotel's diamond ballroom, my heels sinking into the plush carpet, gripping a sleek black case that felt heavier than it should. At 34, I, Claire Thompson, was the youngest vice president at Horizon Innovations, a Seattle tech firm that was rewriting the rules of logistics with AI. Tonight, though, I wasn't the tech prodigy who'd built Nexus, the platform that had shaken the industry. I was just the daughter of Robert Thompson, founder of Thompson Enterprises, the logistics empire that dwarfed my achievements in his eyes. 300 of the West Coast's elite filled the room, their champagne flutes catching the light of crystal chandeliers. My brothers, Michael and David, stood on stage, flanking our father like sentinels of his legacy. I was relegated to table 23, surrounded by junior execs and distant cousins who barely knew my name. Then came the moment that broke me. "Ladies and gentlemen," my father's voice boomed through the microphone, commanding the room with the ease of a man who'd built an empire from a $10,000 0-cents loan. "Tonight marks 45 years of Thompson Enterprises. But my true pride lies in my sons, Michael and David, who have the grit to carry this legacy forward." His eyes scanned the crowd, landing on me with a flicker of dismissal. "Unlike my daughter Claire, who never had what it takes for real business." The room gasped, a collective inhale that sucked the air from my lungs. Whispers rippled through the crowd, heads turning toward me, their pity and curiosity sharper than any knife. My hands trembled, but I forced them still, clutching the black case tighter. Inside it was everything I'd fought for. My Stanford diploma, my Turing award, the patents for Nexus, a USB chronicling my career, and a note from my mother that had kept me going through years of his rejection. I stood, my tailored black suit with its circuit-like embroidery catching the light, and began walking toward the stage. The click of my heels echoed like gunfire in the stunned silence. This wasn't just a gift. It was a reckoning. But let me back up, because to understand why I walked toward that stage, you need to know how I got here, and why this night was only the beginning of a storm that would threaten everything I'd built. It started hours earlier, on the drive to the gala. The Bay Bridge stretched before me, its cables glinting under the dusk sky. I was already on edge, the invitation to my father's retirement gala burning a hole in my purse. Then I saw it in my rearview mirror, a black SUV with no plates tailing me too close, its headlights blinding. My heart pounded as I gripped the wheel of my Tesla, accelerating to shake it. The SUV matched my speed, swerving dangerously close, forcing me onto the shoulder. Tires screeched as I veered back, my pulse hammering in my ears. Just as I thought I'd lose control, the SUV peeled off, disappearing into the traffic. A warning? A random road rage lunatic? I didn't know, but my hands shook as I pulled into the Fairmont's valet line, the black case now feeling like a bomb in the passenger seat. Growing up in San Francisco's Pacific Heights, in a mansion that screamed old money but was built on my father's relentless ambition, I was never enough. Robert Thompson had clawed his way from a working-class kid in Oakland to a global titan by 40, turning a $10,000 0-cents loan into Thompson Enterprises, a logistics juggernaut with offices in 15 countries. His mantra, drilled into us at every family dinner, was, "A man builds, a man conquers, a man endures." It was the anomaly in his world. A daughter who dared to dream beyond his narrow vision of legacy. At 10, I coded my first app, a clunky program to track my allowance, and proudly showed it to him at our mahogany dining table. Michael and David, then 13 and 15, were pitching half-baked business ideas, soaking up his approval. I slid my laptop toward him, heart racing. "Claire, leave business to the boys," he said, chuckling as he waved me off. "Help your mother with the dishes." My cheeks burned, but I swallowed the hurt, retreating to my room to code until dawn. My mother, Eleanor, was my refuge. A former data scientist who'd traded her career for family, she saw the spark in me. By 13, she was teaching me neural networks, her eyes lighting up as I debugged code faster than her graduate students ever had. "Your mind will change the world, Claire," she'd whisper, her hands guiding mine over the keyboard. "Don't let him dim it." Her death when I was 17, in a car crash the police called an accident but never fully explained, shattered me. At her funeral, as I stood by her casket, I overheard my father talking to his CFO, Victor Grayson. "At least my boys can run the empire," he said, his voice low but clear. "Claire's irrelevant." Those words carved themselves into my soul, fueling a fire that never went out. I threw myself into academics, becoming valedictorian of my private high school, earning a full scholarship to Stanford for computer science and graduating with a perfect GPA. My father, he called my Stanford acceptance a distraction from real business. When I gave the commencement address, he arrived 20 minutes late, missing my speech, and left early for David's investor pitch, a lunch with a minor client that yielded nothing. Michael and David, average students at best, coasted through state schools on his wealth, never questioning the system that crowned them heirs. At 14, I'd built an AI model to optimize delivery routes, winning a national tech award. My mother was there, beaming as I accepted the trophy. My father was at Michael's soccer game cheering for a kid who spent most of it on the bench. After Mom's death, I found a hidden note in her desk. "Your mind will change the world. Don't let him dim it." It became my mantra, taped to my monitor through every late-night coding session. I could have joined Thomson Enterprises, taken the cushy VP role my father offered out of obligation. Instead, I chose Horizon Innovations, a scrappy Seattle startup, starting as a junior developer. In 7 years, I clawed my way to vice president, launching Nexus, an AI platform that cut logistics costs by 40% and outperformed my father's systems. It won the Turing Innovation Award, tech's equivalent of an Oscar. Robert's response? A lucky fluke. My salary now dwarfed my brother's, but I kept that quiet, knowing it would only widen the rift. Days before the gala, danger struck again. I arrived at Horizon's office to find my door ajar, papers scattered, my computer humming despite being locked. Someone had tried to steal the Nexus prototype code. The security footage was conveniently glitched, showing only a shadow moving through the dark. My team brushed it off as a random break-in, but I wasn't so sure. The timing, so close to the gala, felt like a message, one I couldn't yet decipher. The gala invitation arrived in a gold-embossed envelope, heavy with expectation. I stared at it over coffee in my Seattle loft, the Space Needle framed in my window. "Are you going?" Ethan, my partner of 3 years, asked. A cybersecurity expert with a knack for reading people, he knew the toll my family took. "I have to," I said, though my stomach twisted. My best friend, Ava, a venture capitalist with a razor-sharp tongue, was less diplomatic over lunch. "You'll make it about your brothers," she warned, stabbing her Caesar salad. "Robert's ego doesn't bend." I wanted to believe this milestone might soften him, but Ava's raised eyebrows said otherwise. Michael called that evening, his voice clipped. "We're doing a tribute video for Dad. Send some photos, maybe write something." I spent hours digging through old albums, selecting moments that still stung. Dad teaching me to code at 8, his rare smile when I won a middle school hackathon, a Christmas photo where his arm rested on my shoulder, I wrote a tribute praising his vision and grit, carefully sidestepping our fractured bond. It felt like writing a eulogy for a relationship that never existed. Choosing an outfit was a battle in itself. I settled on a tailored black suit, its lapels embroidered with subtle circuit patterns, a nod to my tech roots. It was professional but defiant, a statement that I wasn't here to blend in. The gift for my father was harder. What do you give a man who has everything but gives you nothing? The answer came in my mother's safe deposit box, where I found her note alongside clippings of my early coding wins and photos of my first algorithms scrawled on napkins. I added my Stanford diploma, my Turing Award, Nexus patents, financials showing I out-earned my brothers, and a USB with a video titled, "What It Takes," chronicling my rise. I wrapped it in a sleek black case, tied with a silver ribbon, Thomson Enterprises, colors, and attached a note, "From your greatest oversight." 2 days before the gala, David called, sounding uneasy. Dad's tweaking his speech nonstop, keeps muttering about legacy. Maybe he's feeling sentimental. I let myself hope, just for a moment, that he might finally see me. Ethan offered to come, but I declined. "This is between me and him," I said. "Having you there would make it easier, but easier isn't what I need." The night before, I sat in my home office, reviewing Nexus data, the black case on my coffee table like a loaded gun. I almost left it behind, but Mom's words echoed. "Don't let him dim it." I slipped it into a leather tote, ready for war. The Fairmont's diamond ballroom was a spectacle. Chandeliers casting prisms, white orchids cascading from centerpieces, Thomson Enterprises banners proclaiming 45 years of dominance. I arrived on time, slipping past the photographer snapping guests against a branded backdrop. The cocktail hour buzzed with power suits and practiced smiles. "Claire still tinkering with computers?" my father's cousin Gerald asked, martini in hand. I nodded, biting back a retort. Similar exchanges followed, executives and family friends feigning interest in my hobby. My brother spotted me from across the room, waving stiffly. Michael, with his wife Lauren, and David, with his fiancée Sophie, offered shallow pleasantries about my suit and recent trip to Tokyo. "Dad's with some Singapore investors," Michael said, nodding toward a huddle by the bar. "Say hi before it starts." My father's greeting was perfunctory, a half hug that felt like a transaction. "Claire, you made it," he said, eyes already darting to someone more important. "Nice suit, finally looking professional." I ignored the jab, congratulating him on his retirement. He nodded, already turning away. "Your brothers planned a hell of an evening," he said, dismissing me. Table 23 was a microcosm of my place in the family. Junior execs, a cousin I hadn't seen in years, and a logistics manager who mispronounced my name. The black case sat by my chair, a silent challenge. The first course, a crab bisque, tasted like ash in my mouth. Then came the third danger. I sipped my sparkling water, noticing a bitter aftertaste. My vision blurred briefly, my heart racing. I set the glass down, pretending to adjust my napkin as I scanned the room. No one was watching, except Victor Grayson, the CFO, whose glare cut through me like a blade. I switched to bottled water, my pulse steadying, but the incident lodged in my mind like a splinter. The program began after the main course, a filet mignon I barely touched. The lights dimmed, and a video screen descended, playing a montage of Robert's triumphs, groundbreakings, handshakes with presidents, awards galore. The family section was a gut punch, endless clips of him coaching Michael and David in Little League, celebrating their college graduations, standing proudly at new Thomson facilities. I appeared once, a blurry 10-year-old in a family portrait before Mom's death, my entire existence erased. Colleagues took the podium, praising Robert's acumen and family values. Victor Grayson lauded his mentorship of Michael and David, glancing at them with approval. My brother's joint speech was a love letter to Dad's guidance. "Everything we know we learned from him," Michael said. "His legacy lives through us," David added. The room applauded, oblivious to the knife twisting in my chest. Then Robert took the stage, all 6'2" of him, silver hair gleaming, tie straightened, with that familiar gesture of authority. 45 years, he began, his voice steady. From a warehouse in Oakland to a global empire, he recounted victories, risks, and loyal employees. Then his tone shifted, personal, dangerous. "People ask what I'm proudest of," he said, eyes locking on me. "That's easy. My sons Michael and David, who've proven they have the grit to lead. Unlike my daughter Claire, who never had what it takes for real business." The room went silent, then buzzed with awkward laughter. Eyes darted to me, pity, amusement, embarrassment. Michael stared at his plate. David shifted uncomfortably. My chest burned, the chandelier suddenly too bright, the air too thick. I gripped the table, nails digging into my palms, refusing to let tears fall. He went on, detailing Michael's European deals, David's supply chain innovations, 5 minutes of praise for them, not another word about me. I made my decision. I stood, smoothing my suit, and picked up the black case. The room quieted as I walked to the stage, each step deliberate, my heels a metronome of defiance. Then came the fourth danger. A sudden power surge dimmed the lights, a low hum vibrating through the ballroom. A shadowed figure slipped out a side door, barely noticeable. My heart raced, but I kept moving, eyes locked on my father's. His smile tightened as I reached him, the microphone amplifying his shallow breathing. "Claire," he said, voice low, "this isn't the time." I held out the case, steady despite the storm inside. "Congratulations, Dad. I brought you something." He hesitated, annoyance flickering. "Gifts later," he said, louder, a warning. "It's the perfect time," I replied, placing the case in his hands. "From your greatest oversight, open it when I'm gone." I turned, walking off the stage, head high, shoulders back, channeling every boardroom presentation I'd ever nailed. The silence was deafening as I passed my brother's frozen faces, past executives with gaping mouths, through the grand double doors into the lobby's dim quiet. In my car, the dam broke. Sobs racked me, years of rejection pouring out. I nearly crashed on the foggy highway, pulling over to grip the wheel, my forehead pressed against its cool surface. My phone buzzed. "Michael, what was in the case?" "David, Dad's shaken, call me." I silenced it, driving home in a haze, neither triumphant nor broken, just empty. Ethan was waiting in my loft, his arms open. "That bad?" he asked. I collapsed into him, recounting the night, Dad's cruelty, my impulsive stand, the case. "It's everything," I said, voice raw. "My degree, my award, Nexus, Mom's note, everything he refused to see." Ethan held me tighter. "What now?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "Maybe he'll finally see me. Maybe it doesn't matter." But it did matter. Because that night, as I'd learn later, Robert opened the case on stage, his empire watching. And what he found would unravel secrets that threatened not just our family, but my life. The ballroom was still when I left, but the real shock came moments later. Robert, still at the podium, stared at the black case, his fingers creasing the silver ribbon. The microphone caught every sound, the rustle of paper, his uneven breath. He peeled back the wrapping, revealing a plain black box. The crowd leaned forward, sensing a drama they hadn't anticipated. He lifted the lid, and his face changed. Irritation to confusion, then something deeper, unreadable. He pulled out my Stanford diploma, my name bold with summa cum laude. Then my Turing Award medal, glinting under the lights. The Nexus patents, each page a testament to my disruption of his industry. The USB, labeled what it takes. And finally, Mom's note, her elegant script unmistakable. He paused, fingers trembling, before pulling out my message. From your greatest oversight. You built an empire with steel and ambition. I built one with code and heart. Both take grit. I learned mine surviving you. Goodbye, Dad. The microphone amplified his swallow, his silence louder than any speech. I will conclude the formal program, he stammered, a first in his polished career. Enjoy the evening. He gathered the items, hands unsteady, and retreated to the head table. Michael moved to follow, but David stopped him, whispering, "Let him process." Alone at the table, Robert opened Mom's note, reading her words of pride in my world-changing mind. He studied the financials, my income dwarfing his son's. He held the Turing medal, turning it over, realizing its weight. The USB sat untouched, a Pandora's box he wasn't ready to open. Victor Grayson approached, his voice low. "You didn't know, did you?" Robert didn't answer, his eyes fixed on the case. Back in Seattle, I threw myself into Nexus's next phase, ignoring Robert's 7 voicemails. Then came the 5th danger. I returned home to find my loft ransacked, drawers emptied, laptop smashed, a note pinned to my fridge. "Stop digging, or you're next." My blood ran cold. Digging into what? Nexus? Mom's crash? The Gala? I called Ethan, who swept the apartment for bugs, finding a hidden tracker in my lamp, and was watching me, and the black case had set it all in motion. Michael showed up at Horizon the next week, looking like he hadn't slept. "Dad's a mess, Claire," he said, slumping in my office chair. "Canceled his yacht trip, won't take board calls. He's watched your USB a dozen times." I leaned back, skeptical. "He called us over," Michael continued, "made us watch it, your AI, the global contracts, the community impact. I had no idea." He met my eyes, guilt flickering. I never asked. It was easier being Dad's favorite. "Well, and you're here?" I asked, voice flat. "He wants to talk," Michael said. "Sent an email yesterday. Check it." I waited until he left, then opened my inbox. Robert's email, timestamped 2:13 a.m., read, "I saw everything on the USB. I was wrong. Can we talk when you're ready?" I closed it, booking a flight to Singapore for a Nexus demo. Distance felt safer than hope. Then the news broke. Thomson Enterprises announced an AI logistics division led by Robert, who'd postponed retirement. David called, breathless. "He's obsessed with your video, Claire. Keeps quoting your stats on logistics emissions. Says you were right under his nose." I hung up, uneasy. Was this genuine or a power play to co-opt my success? A package arrived at my loft, postmarked from Robert's estate. Inside were schematics for a community tech hub in Oakland, Mom's hometown. His handwritten letter was raw. "Your mother called this my reckoning. I failed you, Claire, blinded by outdated beliefs. Your work is the future. Lead this project, your terms." The schematics were ambitious but flawed, a novice's attempt at AI integration. I texted him, "Coffee, Pier 7 Cafe, Wednesday 10 a.m. His reply was instant. "I'll be there." At the cafe, Robert looked older, his confidence replaced by caution. "Thank you," he said, sitting across from me, Lake Washington shimmering outside. The tech hub. "It's for Eleanor's hometown." He admitted she'd confronted him about favoring my brothers, a promise he broke. "I've watched your video 17 times, he said, a wry smile breaking through. "Your Nexus. It's what my empire should have been." Asked what changed. He pointed to my note. "You said you built with heart. Eleanor told me the same years ago. I was too busy conquering to listen. He was in therapy, he confessed, unraveling decades of bias. I want you to lead the tech hub, he said, no strings. I agreed to review it, nothing more. Over weeks, our meetings grew. Technical discussions where he listened, asked questions, deferred to me. At a family dinner, he praised my vision, shocking Michael and David into silence. At the Eleanor Thompson Tech Hub groundbreaking, I spoke of innovation and redemption, feeling his pride, not as a patriarch, but as an equal. After the ceremony, he handed me a small box. Inside was a USB, labeled in Mom's handwriting, "For Claire, when she's ready." My heart stopped. "Found it in my safe," he said. I think it's about her crash. The weight of that secret, and the dangers still circling me, told me this was far from over. Chapter 2: Shadows of Secrets. The Seattle rain battered my loft's floor-to-ceiling windows, a relentless drumbeat that matched the chaos in my mind. It had been a week since I walked out of my father's retirement gala at the Fairmont, leaving behind a black case that held my life's work, and a truth I wasn't sure he deserved. I, Claire Thompson, the 34-year-old vice president of Horizon Innovations, had spent years building Nexus, an AI platform that was rewriting logistics. But that night, when Robert Thompson, founder of Thompson Enterprises, declared to 300 of San Francisco's elite that I never had what it takes for real business, something inside me snapped. I'd handed him the case, my Stanford diploma, Turing Award, Nexus patents, my mother's note, and a coded message calling myself his greatest oversight, and walked away. Now, back in my loft, with a ransacked apartment and a cryptic note pinned to my fridge, "Stop digging or you're next," I realized the gala wasn't the end. It was the spark that lit a fuse. My phone buzzed on the glass coffee table, Robert's 7th voicemail glowing on the screen. I ignored it, my eyes fixed on the note, its jagged handwriting a taunt. Digging into what? The gala? Nexus? My mother's suspicious car crash 17 years ago? The tracker Ethan, my cybersecurity expert partner, found in my lamp suggested someone was watching me. I paced, the Space Needle's silhouette blurred by the storm outside. Ethan was at his office, analyzing the tracker's origin. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd kicked a hornet's nest, one that could sting far worse than my father's words. The gala invitation had arrived like a summons, gold embossed and heavy with dread. Ethan had warned me Robert would overshadow me, and Ava, my venture capitalist best friend, predicted public humiliation. They were both right. Seated at table 23 with junior execs and distant cousins, I'd been a footnote in Robert's legacy. The tribute video barely acknowledged me, a single childhood photo, while glorifying my brothers, Michael and David. Robert's speech was the final blow, praising them as his heirs while dismissing me as unfit. I'd risen, trembling, and walked to the stage, ignoring the spiked drink I'd narrowly avoided and the eerie power surge that dimmed the lights as a masked figure slipped out a side door. I'd handed Robert the case and left, my composure cracking only when I reached my car, where sobs and a near crash on the foggy highway revealed the depth of my pain. Now Michael's visit to Horizon yesterday had upended my resolve to stay distant. "Dad's a wreck," he'd said, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. "Canceled his yacht trip. Won't take board calls. He's obsessed with your USB video." Robert had made my brothers watch it, my career laid bare, global Nexus contracts, sustainability innovations, community impact. "I had no idea, Claire," Michael admitted, guilt in his eyes. "I never asked." His words lingered. But so did the note on my fridge. Someone didn't want me asking questions either. My laptop chimed, pulling me from my thoughts. An email from Robert, timestamp 2:13 a.m. "I saw everything on the USB. I was wrong. Can we talk when you're ready?" I hesitated, my cursor hovering over the reply button. Was this genuine regret or another of his power plays? Before I could decide, my phone rang. Ava, her voice urgent. Claire, check the news. Thomson Enterprises just announced an AI logistics division. Robert's leading it. Says it's inspired by you. My stomach dropped. Was he stealing my work or finally seeing me? I opened the article, skimming the press release. Thomson Enterprises embraces the future with AI, inspired by cutting-edge innovations, it read, with a photo of Robert, his silver hair gleaming, looking every bit the titan I'd grown up fearing. Then my doorbell buzzed, sharp and insistent. I froze, the ransacking still fresh in my mind. Ethan had installed a new security system, but I grabbed the baseball bat by my door anyway. The camera feed showed a courier, rain-soaked, holding a package with my father's estate as the return address. I signed for it, my hands unsteady, and locked the door behind me. Inside was a roll of schematics, secured with a black ribbon, and a handwritten letter. The schematics were for a community tech hub in Oakland, my mother Eleanor's hometown, where she'd grown up before her scholarship to Berkeley. Robert's letter was raw. Your mother called this my reckoning. I failed you, Claire, blinded by outdated beliefs. Your work is the future. Lead this project, your terms. The schematics were ambitious but flawed, a novice's attempt at AI integration. I set them aside, my mind racing. Was this amends or a trap to pull me back into his orbit? That's when the first new danger struck. My phone pinged with a notification from Horizon's servers, an unauthorized access attempt on Nexus's core code. I logged in, my fingers flying over the keyboard, tracing the breach to an IP address that vanished into a dark web proxy. The hacker had left a digital signature, a string of code that included my childhood nickname, Starbit, a name only my mother and close family knew. My breath caught. Who had access to that? I called Ethan, my voice shaking. Someone's targeting Nexus, and they know things about me they shouldn't. He promised to dig deeper, but the breach felt personal, like a blade pressed to my throat. The next morning, I found a second threat waiting in my inbox. A cryptic email from an anonymous sender. You think the Gala was your victory? Keep pushing and you'll end up like her. The words hit like a punch. Like her? My mother? Eleanor's crash had always felt wrong. The police report too tidy, the driver who hit her never found. I dug through my safe, pulling out the hidden files I'd found after the Gala, tucked in Mom's old journals. They weren't just sentimental notes. They contained encrypted data, fragments of code, and a reference to Project Sentinel, a term I'd never heard. Was this what the note meant by stop digging? I copied the files to a secure drive and sent them to Ethan, my heart pounding. Look into this, I texted. But be careful. I needed answers, but Robert's email loomed. Against my better judgment, I texted him. Coffee, Pier 7 Cafe, Wednesday, 10 a.m. His reply was instant. I'll be there. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I needed to know if he was part of this, or a victim like me. The cafe, with its view of Lake Washington, was neutral ground, far from the San Francisco battleground. I arrived early, sipping a cappuccino, my nerves electric. Robert walked in at 10 sharp, looking older than at the gala, his impeccable suit unable to mask new lines around his eyes. Claire, he said, standing awkwardly, thank you for agreeing to meet. I gestured to the chair opposite, my voice cool. Black coffee? He nodded, sitting carefully, as if afraid to break something fragile. The silence stretched, heavy with years of unspoken hurt. The tech hub, I said finally, cutting through the tension. It's ambitious, but raw. Why Oakland? His eyes softened. Your mother always wanted to give back there. She talked about a scholarship foundation, but after her crash, he trailed off, staring at the lake. I failed her too. He leaned forward, voice low. I've watched your USB 17 times. Your Nexus? The way it transformed logistics, cut emissions, empowered communities. It's what I should have built. I studied him, searching for the manipulation I'd always known. What changed? I asked. Your note, he said. You built with heart. Eleanor told me the same years ago when I dismissed your first algorithm. I was too busy conquering to listen. He confessed to family therapy. A shock in itself. Robert Thompson on a therapist's couch. Eleanor warned me, he continued, his voice rough. A month before her crash, she said I was creating a self-fulfilling prophecy, expecting less of you because you were a girl. She was wrong about one thing. You never limited yourself, despite me. My throat tightened, his words echoing Mom's note. I spent years chasing your approval, I admitted, the confession spilling out. Every award, every deal. I thought it'd make you see me. He looked down, ashamed. I know, and I failed you spectacularly. The third danger hit that night. I was driving home from Horizon when my car's dashboard flashed a warning, brake system failure. I pumped the pedal, but it sank uselessly, my Tesla accelerating toward a red light. I swerved, narrowly missing a truck, and slammed the emergency brake, skidding into a parking lot. My hands shook as I called Ethan. Someone tampered with my car, I said, voice trembling. He arrived in minutes, his team confirming the brakes had been sabotaged remotely, a hack targeting my car's software. This is beyond corporate games, Ethan said, his face grim. Someone wants you gone. The next day, I dove deeper into Mom's files, decrypting a fragment that mentioned Sentinel was a Shelf Thompson Enterprises project, an AI prototype predating Nexus. Why had it been buried? I cross-referenced it with public records, finding a single mention, a 2008 patent filed under Victor Grayson's name, then withdrawn. The CFO's glare at the Gala flashed in my mind. Was he behind the threats? I called Ava, who'd been digging into Thompson Enterprises' financials. Their stock's tanking, she said. Rumors of a data breach, and Nexus is being blamed for exposing vulnerabilities in their system. My blood ran cold. Was someone framing me to destabilize my father's empire? I met Robert again, this time at Horizon's secure conference room, Ethan monitoring remotely. Tell me about Project Sentinel, I said, watching his face. He paled, his composure cracking. How do you know about that? He asked. It was Eleanor's idea, an AI to optimize supply chains. We shelved it after her crash, too costly, too risky. His voice wavered. Victor pushed to bury it. I leaned forward. Did her crash have anything to do with it? He froze, then shook his head, but his eyes betrayed uncertainty. I don't know, Claire. I swear. That night, the fourth danger struck. I was working late at Horizon when the fire alarm blared. I grabbed my laptop and ran, only to find the stairwell filled with smoke. Real, not a drill! I coughed, my eyes burning as I navigated to the emergency exit. Outside, firefighters confirmed arson. A chemical accelerant had been used on my floor. My office was destroyed, but my secure drive with Mom's files was safe in my bag. Ethan met me at the scene, his face taut. This isn't random, he said. The tracker, the brakes, now this. Someone's escalating. I couldn't ignore Robert's voicemails anymore. I listened to the latest. Claire, I found something in Eleanor's old office. It's about Sentinel. Meet me tomorrow, please. Against my instincts, I agreed, but not before Ethan traced the anonymous email to a server linked to a shell company, owned by Victor Grayson. The pieces were falling into place, but they formed a picture I wasn't ready to face. The fifth danger came at the meeting with Robert, in a secluded Oakland warehouse where he'd stored Eleanor's files. As we sifted through boxes, a low hum filled the air. Drones, 3 of them, swooping through the open skylight. One fired a dart, grazing my arm, and I dove behind a crate, my vision swimming from whatever poison it carried. Robert yanked me down, his face pale but determined. "Stay low," he shouted, grabbing a metal pipe to smash one drone. I hacked the other's signal with my phone, forcing them to crash. We escaped, my arm bandaged, but the attack confirmed it. Someone wanted us both silenced. Back at my loft, Ethan analyzed the dart, military-grade tranquilizer, untraceable. Robert, shaken, handed me a file he'd found. Eleanor's notes on Sentinel, detailing how it threatened a rival firm's monopoly. A handwritten memo implicated Victor in a cover-up, and a final page hinted at sabotage of her car. My heart pounded. Was she killed? I asked. Robert's eyes filled with tears. I didn't want to believe it, but maybe. He admitted he'd ignored red flags, too consumed by grief to question the crash. The emotional dam broke. I screamed at him, years of rage spilling out. "You let her die. You let me think I was nothing." He didn't flinch, taking every word. "I failed you both," he said, voice breaking. "But I'm here now, Claire. Let me help." For the first time, I saw not the Titan, but a man haunted by regret. I didn't forgive him, not yet. But I needed him to unravel this. We worked together, tracing Victor's shell company to a network of offshore accounts. Ava's contacts confirmed he'd been siphoning funds from Thompson Enterprises, using Sentinel's failure to hide his tracks. The stock crash was his doing, framing Nexus to discredit me. Ethan uncovered a final clue. The hacker targeting Nexus was Victor's nephew, who'd known my nickname from childhood visits. The conspiracy was personal, and it ran deep. The Eleanor Thompson Tech Hub groundbreaking was weeks away, and I threw myself into its redesign. AI-driven labs, green energy community spaces. At a tense family dinner at Michael's penthouse, Robert shocked everyone by praising my vision. "Claire's hub will redefine Oakland," he said as Michael choked on his wine. David, quieter, admitted, "We didn't see you, Claire, we should have." The shift was fragile, but real. At the groundbreaking under Oakland's clear sky, I stood at the podium, the crowd of locals, tech leaders, and press hanging on my words. "This hub is about more than technology," I said. "It's about seeing potential where others don't, about second chances." Robert's eyes met mine, pride unmistakable. Afterward, he handed me a USB, labeled in Mom's handwriting, "For Claire, when she's ready." He'd found it in his safe. "It's about her crash," he said, voice low. And Sentinel. I plugged it in that night, Ethan by my side. The files revealed a whistleblower's confession. Victor had orchestrated Mom's crash to bury Sentinel, fearing its exposure of his embezzlement. My hands shook, tears falling. But there was more. A video of Mom smiling, saying, "Claire, you're my legacy. Keep shining." I sobbed, the weight of her faith and his betrayal crashing together. Robert called, his voice steady. "We'll take him down together." I nodded, though he couldn't see. "For Mom," I said. The hub's groundbreaking wasn't just a new beginning for Oakland. It was ours. Victor's empire was crumbling, and I was ready to fight, not just for justice, but for the legacy Mom always saw in me. The USB held one final file, locked with a code only I could crack. What it contained would change everything. But that's a story for another day.